Alright, I wanted to show my prototype operator for how I think a segmentation tool could work in Blender, and this is the tool that I use in my add-ons, but I use a very customized, streamlined version, but you can find the generic tool in the repository. So first thing, following our ideal characteristics, is visualization is good. We're in object mode, so we're not distracted by seeing the edges and faces. That can be a disadvantage in some situations, but for our purposes, that's a plus. There are multiple modes of input, so we can add a click-based operation, or we can add a sketch-based boundary. And I'll show you in a moment a paint-based. It's predictable in that when there are segments that are failing, and so you saw that this area had some orange line segments or some pale segments that hadn't completed, it shows you those areas which is having trouble. In the edit mode knife tool, those areas just simply fail to cut. You'll see here that there are some very long faces, so those are not, in a paint-based or the sculpt mask-based workflow, you'd be limited to either selecting none or all of the face. So you would not be able to draw a boundary between here and here. It's dynamic. We can go back and edit our boundaries after we've created them. And on top of that, if we want to use a paint-based input, we can paint to adjust our regions. And when we come back to boundary edit, the boundary will be fit to that new boundary, and then we can then edit it by way of editing our spline outline. Okay, you'll see here that our preview is topology limited, but once we actually compute the cut, it adds in the new geometry needed to make the border precise. So that's the final criteria, is that it's border precise. So we can, for example, duplicate that patch and separate that patch and commit, and now we have this patch separated and this patch duplicated, and then these elements could be used further in the workflow.